Good morning, everyone, and I'm Candice. Today I'll be speaking on the science of becoming you. I want you to think back to a moment when you were a kid, staring at a test score that made your stomach drop. Maybe it was a language test or a math test you studied, or maybe you didn't. But you got it back and it was covered in red ink. I remember that feeling. For me, it was in 7th grade. I looked at that grade and I made a quiet decision to myself. I decided, I'm just not a math person. I had successfully outsourced my failures from my effort to my identity. And here's the dangerous thing about that statement. It felt good. It felt like relief. I wasn't someone who was bad at math. I was simply someone that wasn't meant to be good at it. For years, I wore that badge. But it turns out I was giving a perfect real-life example to what Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck calls a fixed mindset. Carol Dweck's research tells us that we generally operate under one of two beliefs. The first is a fixed mindset, the idea that our intelligence, our character, and our creative abilities are static facts carved in stone. If you have a fixed mindset, you believe you have a certain amount of intelligence, and that's that. Your goal becomes to look smart at all times and to never look dumb. It sounds simple, right? Just believe you can grow, and you will. If that were true, we wouldn't have a multi-billion-dollar self-help industry today. The brain is trickier than that. Here's where the psychology gets really interesting. A team of researchers led by Jesse Gao developed a new way to measure mindset. They used something called the implicit associations test. Instead of asking people, do you believe you can grow, which we all know is the right answer, they measured the subconscious reactions. And what they found was fascinating. There was only a weak correlation between what people said they believed and what they subconsciously did believe. What does it mean for us? We can all talk the talk of a growth mindset. We can post quotes on Instagram and WeChat, but deep down, in the face of real challenges, that ancient part of your brain is still saying, you're not good enough, quit now, protect yourself. The question isn't whether we know about a growth mindset. The question is, how do we actually train this belief? This brings me to a second wave of research, published in the Social Psychology of Education. They introduced something called the Integrated Growth Systems Framework. The researchers found that believing you can grow isn't enough. Belief needs to translate into actions. They developed two key types of growth practices. The first, proactive practices, actively seeking challenges even when you're afraid of failing. And the second, reflective practices, looking back at your mistakes, not with shame, but with curiosity, asking, what can I learn here? So how do we actually train this belief? Let's look at people who have mastered this, not because they were born geniuses, but because they practiced these behaviors. First, Albert Einstein, and I quote, it's not that I am so smart. It's just that I stay with the problems longer. Einstein, an icon of a genius, is telling us that his secret wasn't a gift from the gods. It was grit. It was the reflective practice of staying in the struggle. He normalized confusion. A fixed mindset says, if I was smart, that would have made sense. A growth mindset says, confusion is part of the curriculum. Next, Pablo Picasso, and I quote, I am always doing that which I cannot do in order that I may learn how to do it. Think about the courage in that statement. He wasn't waiting for mastery. He was acting to find mastery. This is the proactive practice. It's raising your hand when you don't have the perfect answer. It's starting that painting that you know you might ruin. And finally, Winston Churchill, a man that led a nation through its darkest hour, said, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. In a growth mindset, success is not a final destination where you get to stop. And failure is not a tombstone where your potential gets buried. These are just points on a graph trending upward. So I want to come back to that 7th grade version of myself. What if, instead of accepting that label, someone told me about the brain's plasticity? What if someone had taught me that every time I struggle with a problem, my neurons are firing together, creating new connections, literally making me smarter? A growth mindset, it's not about positive thinking. It's not about telling yourself you can do it when you haven't done the work yet. It's about telling yourself you can't do it yet. That one word, yet, is the most powerful word in the English language for your brain. It takes a dead end and it transforms it into a hallway. It takes a tombstone and it transforms it into stepping stones. The research is clear. The way we think about our potential shapes our reality. But the deeper research shows us it's not about thinking, it's about acting. It's about staying in the struggle, like Einstein. It's about attempting the impossible, like Picasso. And it's about having the courage to continue, like Churchill. So today, I have one challenge for you. Think of an area in your life or a place where you've placed a period. Maybe you've said, I'm not a leader, I'm not a public speaker, or I'm not that kind of person who can start a business. I want you to replace that period with the word yet. Then I want you to do something that scares you. Attempt the thing that you cannot yet do. Because the science proves that within the struggle, within the attempt, and within the courage to continue, you are not just finding yourself, you are creating yourself. Thank you.